War is brutal. It is unforgiving. It operates in a realm where morality is constantly questioned, where survival often dictates action, and where justice sometimes remains an illusion. On November 19, 2005, in the town of Haditha, Iraq, 24 civilians were shot and killed by U.S. Marines in an act that remains one of the most controversial war crimes of the Iraq War. What began as a routine patrol took a horrific turn, leaving men, women, and children dead, their homes riddled with bullets, their lives extinguished in an instant. The official reports initially claimed these deaths were collateral damage from an insurgent attack, a tragic consequence of war. But as investigations unfolded, the world discovered the truth. This was not a chaotic battlefield mistake. It was a massacre. And the most unsettling part? Despite overwhelming evidence, no one was truly held accountable. The Haditha Massacre raised questions that still linger today. How does justice function in war? Where is the line between retaliation and murder? And who, ultimately, is responsible when civilians die at the hands of soldiers? To understand Haditha, we must go back to the town itself, to the lives that existed before that fateful morning, to the Marines who were stationed there, and to the policies that shaped the way the war was fought. This is the full story of the Haditha Massacre, what really happened, the that followed, and why justice never came. Welcome to True Crime Investigator, where we bring you compelling stories of crime, mystery, and justice. Sit back, stay curious, and let's get into today's case. Haditha is a small city in Iraq's Al-Anbar province, located along the Euphrates River. Before the U.S. invasion in 2003, it was a relatively quiet town, home to farmers, merchants, and families who had lived there for generations. But by 2005, the war had transformed Haditha into one of the most dangerous regions in Iraq. The city was a known insurgent stronghold, part of the Sunni Triangle where resistance against American forces was fierce. Insurgents, many of them former Ba'ath Party loyalists and foreign fighters, used Haditha as a base for launching attacks on coalition troops. The U.S. military, in turn, responded with frequent raids, house searches, and heavy patrols, trying to suppress an enemy that blended seamlessly with the local population. The people of Haditha lived under constant fear. Marines patrolled their streets, weapons at the ready. Every car, every roadside pile of debris, every stranger could be a threat. And the insurgents, hidden among civilians, made no distinction between combatants and non-combatants when setting up attacks. It was in this environment of paranoia, distrust, and violence that the events of November 19th unfolded. It was early in the morning when a convoy of U.S. Marines from Kilo Company, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment, moved through the streets of Haditha. The soldiers were on edge. Every day in this city had been a test of survival. Lance Corporal Miguel Terrazas was sitting inside a Humvee, part of a routine patrol through the town. Without warning, a massive explosion erupted beneath his vehicle. The impact sent the armored truck flying into the air before slamming down in a mangled wreck. Terrazas was killed instantly. 2 other Marines inside the vehicle were injured. The explosion was caused by an improvised explosive device, or IED, a common weapon used by insurgents to target American forces. IED attacks were a leading cause of U.S. military deaths in Iraq, and every Marine knew that such an attack often meant that enemy combatants were nearby, watching, waiting to strike again. The surviving Marines, dazed and shaken, scrambled for cover. In that moment, their training and emotions collided. They had lost a brother, and now someone had to pay. What happened next would be remembered as one of the most disturbing events of the Iraq War. In the immediate aftermath of the explosion, the Marines spotted a white taxi approaching a checkpoint near the scene of the bombing. Inside were 5 unarmed Iraqi men. The vehicle came to a stop, and the men were ordered out. They raised their hands, signaling compliance. The Marines, however, were not taking chances. All 5 men were shot dead. Then the Marines turned their attention to the nearby homes. Believing that insurgents were responsible for the attack, they raided 3 houses, clearing each room with gunfire. Families that had been sleeping moments earlier were caught in a storm of bullets and explosions. The violence was methodical, room by room. In one house, 7 people were killed, including a 3-year-old girl. In another, 8 members of the same family were gunned down. A mother died shielding her young son, but the bullet through both. An elderly man was shot in his wheelchair. Only one child survived, an 8-year-old girl who lay beneath the bodies of her relatives, covered in their blood, pretending to be dead. By the time the Marines were done, 24 people were dead. None of them were insurgents. None of them had fired a weapon. For months, the world knew nothing of what had truly happened in Haditha. The official military report stated that 15 civilians had died as a result of the IED explosion. The deaths of the other 9 were not even mentioned. But in early 2006, Time magazine launched an investigation. Their journalists spoke to survivors, analyzed video footage, and gathered testimony that painted a horrifying picture. The truth began to surface. These people had not died in an explosion. They had been When the U.S. military could no longer ignore the allegations, an internal investigation was launched. The Naval Criminal Investigative Service, NCIS, gathered evidence, including autopsy reports confirming that the victims had been shot at close range. The reality was undeniable. The official account had been a lie. In 2006, 8 Marines were charged in connection with the killings. 4 of them faced charges of unpremeditated murder, while others were accused of dereliction of duty, false reporting, and failure to investigate properly. But as the years dragged on, one by one, the charges were dropped. Some Marines struck plea deals. Others were acquitted. In the end, only one man, Staff Sergeant Frank Vuterick, the squad leader, stood trial. In 2012, after years of legal battles, Vuterick pleaded guilty, not to murder, but to negligent dereliction of duty. His punishment? A reduction in rank and no jail time. Not a single Marine served a single day in prison for the deaths of 24 civilians. The Haditha Massacre left an indelible mark on the Iraq War. It became a symbol of American military failure, a cautionary tale of unchecked power, and a reminder of the blurred lines between war and war crimes. In Iraq, it fueled anti-American sentiment and further eroded trust between civilians and occupying forces. For many, it was justice denied. For others, it was a consequence of war, an inevitable tragedy in a conflict defined by chaos and fear. What do you think? Was Haditha an act of war, or was it murder? Did the Marines get away with one of the worst war crimes of the Iraq War? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this deep dive informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more investigations into history's most controversial events. This is war, this is Haditha, and this is a crime that should never be forgotten. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay updated on crime cases like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay aware, stay informed, and stay safe.